And the question now in your mind maybe is, see, when you work in a team, everyone have different preference, right? So I prefer some coding style. My team member will prefer some other coding style. How will you come to a conclusion? Maybe everyone will have their own Claude.md file where they will decide what coding style they want to prefer. But what happens when you merge it? Okay, that's a problem, right? So Claude.md stays on your machine. Also, when you create a Claude.md file in your project, that goes in the Git. So the entire team will be sharing the same Claude.md. But what if you want something different? What if you want a different behavior, at least for your project, the coding which you are doing? In that case, you can create a Claude.md file for yourself. Okay. What if you want to have a Claude.md for the entire organization, a common one, where you can specify, see, different companies, different domains, basically they have different limitations, there are different security protocols, there are different flow of deployments. Those things you can mention in the Claude.md of the organization level. So we'll talk about those things as well. Okay, just hold on. Yeah. So before we talk about Claude.md, this is also important. So .claude folder. Now, this is a folder where you will be having a lot of stuff. In fact, one of the things which we have seen is the settings.json, where you can mention your permissions, you can mention the configuration. We have only seen the permission yet. In future, we'll look at the configuration as well. Apart from it, we can also have a Claude.md file. Now, this file can be in the Claude folder or in your project folder. So this is the alternate location. Then we can also have sub-agents here in the agents folder. We can also have hooks, rules, skills. And we'll talk about skills, hooks later, but you can see these are the things which you can have in your project or in your .claude folder. Just to give the description, basically the same thing. The .claude folder can have settings.json, it can have Claude.md, agents, hooks, and these are the things it will do. Now coming back to Claude.md, so on which level you can have this? So basically you can have this on the organization level. So where the entire organization, doesn't matter which team, which project they're working on, they will share the common description, common rules, right? So that's one thing. But you can also have it for your machine. So let's say for every project, doesn't matter if, let's say if I work with 5 projects. For every project, I want to have certain preferences. I can put that in the .claude folder of your machine, the location which I specified here. So this is the .claude folder of my machine. I can have my Claude.md file here, and it will also read that. Then you can also have the Claude.md in your particular project. Now that's a project root, right? Now this is only applicable for this particular project, but then this will be also shared by your team members. So this will be committed to Git and they will be sharing the same Claude.md file. But what if you want to work on a personal level? So you have certain preferences which you want to work with. In that case, you will be using Claude.local.md. And you have to make sure that you put that into Git ignored so that this will not be pushed. Of course, if you want to share with your team members, you will do that. But again, this is for the local one. So let's say I have defined on the project level, but every particular folder. So let's say there's one folder for the front end, there's one folder for the back end, there's one folder for the testing, and each folder should have their own preferences. When I create the test cases in test folder, I will be having different preferences. For the back end, I want to have different preferences, maybe different tech stack, different casing for the names, the name standards. Those things you can mention on the folder level as well. But the question is, let's say there's a conflict. What you are saying on the organization level, what you're saying on the project level, what you're saying on the folder level, which one it will prefer? Now it goes in this sequence. So the highest priority will be given to the subfolder. So if whatever subfolder is saying, only in the case of conflict, it will prefer the subfolder. Then the priority goes to the local one. Then the priority goes to the project one. Then the priority goes to the global one, which you set in your machine. And then the priority goes to the organization level. So the ideal situation would be on the organization level, of course, you will specify the guardrails, the security part of it, the flow of the project. Don't change those things in your project. But yeah, there's a very specific project which you're doing internally, which will not be getting deployed anywhere. And if you want to bypass some security, you can do that. Okay, but in general, don't do it. Don't cross or don't bypass the organization part. But there's one important part here. Let's say you created this Claude.md file. Normally it will be shorter, but let's say if you decided to put everything there, you kept that file which is 1000 lines. Now what will happen is the more lines you have, your session is going to load that file, right? So you're wasting so much of context. So the ideal situation would be target under 200 lines per Claude.md file. And again, since you're doing that in a subfolder, don't put everything in the main folder, right? In the main project, the root level. So you can put the things in the root level for which is specific to the entire project. And then for each subfolder, you can specify what are things you need there, right? The thing is, the subfolder will be loaded only when it is required. So let's say you have a Claude.md file in one of the folder like testing. It will be loaded when you're working with the testing part. So you're not filling the entire context. And now question arises, how we are going to create that Claudemd file? It's very simple. Just go back to your project, click here and say Claude.md file. And in this file, I can just put all this thing once. Let me just copy this and paste it here. So you got your Claudemd file. My job is done. Let me close this now because this file is there. And let me terminate this session, okay? The moment I do that, let me just create a new session and we'll be asking the same question now. And let's see if it is scanning all the files. So what is this project about? So the moment I say enter, so now you can see it is not basic, it's not scanning all the files. So this is a Telescope project, front end, and certain things are missing here, but maybe, okay, let me try once again. Let me terminate this. I just want to be very sure. If I say, okay, you can see it's using this. So, okay, so confusion is solved. It is using it, the Claude.md. And we don't even have the option of Control O here to see if it is scanning the file. It's not scan the file. So based on the project instruction, this is what it is. And yeah, we got this detail. Perfect. So this is the power of Claude.md file. But this is not the best way of doing it. Of course, if you know about your project entirely, it's good to create this file by yourself. You can type different things here. You can add certain details. But anyway, if you want to do this, then why to do it manually? You can just delete this. And now I can ask Claude Code to create that file for me. And the way you can do that is by saying /init. And also observe we don't have .plot folder here. So the moment I say init, let's say it is what it's doing. It's basically scanning these files and searching for one pattern. Okay, taking some time, but it will create ultimately. Okay, I want to tell you one more command here, which is /by the way. So let's say if you're doing something, and then if you want to execute a command, so you can use something called, or if you want to ask a simple question, you can say by the way. And also it will not add this in your context. So let's say if you're doing something and if you want to recall certain parts, or maybe if you want to read something about one particular term here, you can just do that with by the way. Okay, so it says we want to create this file, which is Claude.md. I will say yes, allow edit for this particular session. It is also saying no existing Claude.md file on the disk. So Claudemd, I will write from the scratch. Okay, do that. And you can see we got this particular file here. And now it is writing in that file. And let's open now. Same thing, right? But more structure. So it's a markdown file where it is talking about the project. We're talking about running locally. This is a file, then the architecture, mock API layer. Yeah, looks good. So roles and permissions enforced in JavaScript, but no trust boundaries. This checks UX only. Okay, it's a good file. Okay, I'm just thinking why we don't see the .Claude folder there. Weird. Anyway, it's not coming, so let me just create that folder. And then we can also put this particular file in the .Claude folder. See, the advantage is this file is there, it's hidden from you. So you can just only focus on the project. If it's there, then you have extra file to take care of. At least look at that every day. So that's how it works.